Paolo,
How you doing, man?
how you doing, brother?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you so much. How are you?
Uh, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to join you all the way from the UK.
All the way from the UK. We jumped the puddle, didn't we? We went way over. So it's what, about 7 o'clock your time
No,
right
it's
now?
actually earlier than that. It's just coming up to 5 p.m., which is even
Oh,
better.
5. Oh, I don't want to interrupt your dinner.
No,
What are we having
no,
for dinner?
you're good. We've got a late dinner this evening, so we're all good.
Oh, that's good. Good. Now, did I say your name right, Paolo?
That's right. Bang on.
Ah, great. I did it. I did it, folks. I didn't screw it up this time. Well, Paulo's in the house from the Mighty Small, and you are one terrific artist. You know that?
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, man.
Everybody out in podcast land, I want to give you a little info on Paulo here in the Mighty Small. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's a heck of a storyteller, and very incredible music. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit here.
Cool.
Very much so. And the songs that you just sent me, I'm set back.
Yeah, do you
Really
like them?
set back.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. I usually don't jump into songs right away, but I've got to jump into that single that's playing on the UK radio.
Do you like that? Yeah. Thank you so much.
I like
God of
it a
small
lot.
things.
That is a smooth song.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much. It comes from the idea of like when you sort of get to a point on a low point and you've got two choices to either get up and get on busy or to give up.
Yeah.
And that's sort of inspired by the book as well. There's a book called The God of Small Things. And just,
Okay.
you get to a point in your head when it's like, okay, yeah, make a decision. Which one
You make a decision. And we come to that point in our lives, all of us do, that, you're going to do it or you're not going to do it.
That's it.
And you got one choice or another. That's about it in life.
That's it.
And I hope you take the right path.
Yeah, man, that's it. Sometimes it's a simple choice. And I was trying to just sort of, I don't know, distill that idea into the idea of a tune. And I was messing around on my guitar one day, and that kind of rhythm, that sort of, I guess it's kind of like a fast and funky sort of country style stomp, where it's on the one, and you've got that beat. It's really nice to play and really nice to sing along to. And then the idea.
You're throwing a lot of genres in your music, from rock, country, pop, everything.
I like that, right? I've been because I'm like, I set up like a one-man band, so I use loop pedals, and I love learning instruments. So I have like I play drums, I play guitars, keyboards, and harmonica and stuff. I love to learn to play new instruments, and I have 2 loop pedals. So when I go out and play live, I take my little setup and I can record the vocals separately to the instruments, so I can be singing while I'm performing. And it just kind of, without having other members in the band sort of dictate one's particular style, I kind of like to just go, what am I going to write today? And it could be anything, right? And that keeps things fresh. And I think I rely on my voice and the way I play instruments to be my identity a little bit more. Then going, I'm a rock and roll person, or I'm just blues, or I'm just country,
a certain genre. Yes. And doing it the way you're doing it is you have full control of the way you want it to sound.
Yeah. And
which is beautiful.
Thank you, man. And I open it up as well. I have guests who come and play with me as well. And I've, I'm of that age where I kind of span the time before computers and then the time of computers. So I cut my time growing up jamming with artists and musicians, and you had to. It was a tough scene. You had to learn to just be. You didn't get many chances. So if you went out and you went to a show and it was like a jam session, you were just thrown in at the deep end, and that was that, right? Off you go. Boom.
Hope you survive.
Yeah, I in my earlier days, I left home when I was 16 and moved to Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands, in Europe, about an hour's flight from where I am.
Okay.
And I lived there for a couple of years, and my bread and butter was playing acoustic guitar, in like doing open mic nights and things like that. So
that's beautiful.
it was nice, man. It was a real baptism of fire. And you had to learn to sort of, you played covers, you played cover versions and chucked in your occasional song. And I met a couple of guys who were from Chicago there, a jazz drummer.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, man, a jazz drummer called Martin Bainey, who was the original drummer in the Smashing Pumpkins, believe it or not.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, and a bass player called Jordan Estavo, who was a very funky, very cool-looking bass player. And we ended up taking the band from Holland, Amsterdam, back to Chicago, and I lived there for about 12 months. And we wrote and we performed, and I really cut my teeth there. I mean, Martin would take me along to these jazz nights because he was predominantly a jazz drummer from a jazz family. And, we'd all meet up at places like the Wonder Bar downtown Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And you had a chance to get up and play, and I was this short, white English dude who was asking to get up and sing with all these awesome artists, and they'd be like, yeah, maybe later. So by the time I got around to actually getting up and singing, it was about 4 or 5 in the morning because these guys would go through the night. But eventually I got a chance to get up and sing, and they loved my voice. And from there onwards, it was like, dude, you can come back anytime. So that's
great.
12 months like living in that venue. It was just a wonderful experience.
Oh, I bet it was a wonderful experience. And what you got going on now, and what I see and watch, I mean, you're all over the place. You're amazing.
Thanks, man.
You are an amazing artist. I mean, to grab every different instrument and make the sounds that you make is beautiful music.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like a sauce, right? It just keeps you young, keeps you fluid. And I love the fact that I can just be in that creative space and be recording those things live and just populating that space. It's been a real pleasure and privilege. When I was growing up, I didn't so much want to be. My thought wasn't to be famous. I always saw music as this black art, and I desperately wanted to understand it. Be allowed in, like being that. It was like magic is to somebody who's into magic. It's like I want to know what this thing is. So I self-taught. I was a self-taught. My father was an engineer, so he was
nice.
Built his own fixed cars and that kind of stuff. And I wasn't into that sort of thing, but he didn't have time for the music sort of side of things. So I had to teach myself. Even though he used to play when he was in his younger years, but we had instruments we had instruments lying around the house, and that was great. We just had the chance to play, and my older brother was into sort of the dance music scene, so he was you get that vibe. He was using computers.
Oh yeah, I was there,
and listening to Kraftwerk and all that kind of stuff, and that was interesting as well. But it
was.
It just gave me the opportunity to sort of try and embrace something different. And yeah, man. So playing the instruments was the start to it all, and then figuring out how to take it to the level was where the loop pedals come.
I have one more question before I get in your mind. One more. When you're doing your gig, are you out busking a lot?
Yeah, I try and get into London to busk as much as I can. It's not as easy with the full looping repertoire because there's so much equipment to carry. But
there is.
But I do get the chance. London's a good place as long as you preempt where you're going, so you can get in touch with certain boroughs like Camden, for example, and you can book a slot, which is unheard of, right? So you can go. I'm going to come down, and they'll actually set aside a particular place in Camden for you, or in Covent Garden for you to play. And I go down there. I turn up at like 8 in the morning, set up. And there's a place I can plug everything in, and then you're there for the day jamming.
That's beautiful.
Oh, it's in the summertime as well. It's magical, absolutely magical.
It is. I have a bunch of my entertainers that are buskers too, and they love it.
It's another level.
Definitely, it is a different level, isn't it?
Yeah,
it sure is. It's right person to person.
Yeah,
it's right on there.
Very raw as well. If you're gonna mess up on that, it's there laid bare for everybody to see. But that's part of the beauty, I think.
Yeah. All right, here we go. You're going to go on a time capsule with me.
Cool.
We're going way back in time, okay?
I can feel the weird vibe.
Here we go. All right. Now, you've been doing this a long time, obviously, so I got to go way far back. I'm taking you to 10 years old.
Shit. Okay.
What are you listening to at that age?
Oh, man. I was listening to 10 years old. I was listening to, would you believe it? I was listening to a lot of classical music because I grew up around my grandparents.
Same here, brother.
I had classical like Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, and it wasn't like I was listening to it. I put a record on. It was just on all the time. My grandparents would get up and the radio would come on, and we have a channel on.
Did they make you dance the waltz a lot?
It was there. So everything, and I remember seeing my grandparents would move rhythmically,
Oh, yeah.
And there's certain songs would come on and classical pieces would come on as well. And I remember my uncle had a vast record collection. And one of the things that jumps out at me back then were songs by people like Andy Williams.
Oh, yes. Beautiful.
Tunes like and this is at the age of 10, so I'm really trying to dig into my memory here and remember.
Right.
Sam Cooke, just like early 50s R&B, that kind of stuff. My parents didn't play a lot of music, but my grandparents, it was just the kind of thing that was on the go all the time. And that was on my English grandparents. My Italian grandparents, I couldn't even name half the artists that I used to hear because the music was Italian, right? So who knows?
Who knows who that person there? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now you're 10. You're listening to these musicians and all this music and stuff. What was the age that interested you in picking up an instrument, and what was the first one?
Oh, that's a good question. So I was quite a late starter when it came to actually picking up an instrument and playing. I didn't start until I was about 14, and the instrument I chose were the drums. Purely
the drums.
Yeah, my mum had a pair of. My dad had like a makeshift bar in our house when we were growing up, and I was fortunate enough to have. I am fortunate enough to have 5 brothers and sisters, so we had quite a big.
Oh, nice.
And I'm the second eldest of everyone. And my dad, bless him, had built this little corner bar, and he had a pump on there for his beers, and he had like a few of those. Remember those like upside down bottles with the dispenser things for martinis.
Oh,
like
yes.
That, right? But out by this bar, in the front of the bar, he had these 2 wicker stools, like bar stools, and the tops of the bar stools were kind of like tight woven, and you could kind of beat them like a conga drum. So I would get wooden spoon, my mum's wooden spoons. And I would put like the Queen on the Day at the Races, or Simple Minds, or U2, early U2, and I would drum along on these bar stools with wooden sticks until eventually until either the wooden sticks would break or the bar stools would get frayed, or I'd get caught and clipped around the ear and told not to drum the bar stools. But it was later, like a year or so later, that my father actually capitulated and went and got me a set of drums. In fact, I think it was about when I was 15, and you can start to learn to drive in the UK when you're 16. And obviously being an engineer, he was like, "Oh, you're going to learn to drive." And I knew that if I did that, I'd be tied into working for my dad for like forever. And I was like, no way. I wanted a drum.
No.
But he was cool with it. He was like, "Well, how much is the drum kit?" And I looked through the local papers and found like this ex-punk rocker was selling like a 7-piece drum kit for $100, right? Which is nothing. And I said, $100. He was like, "Okay, well, that's $700 cheaper than giving you driving lessons. Okay, you can do that." So he went and bought me a drum kit, and I moved it back into the house and set it all up and made. And obviously, I think it didn't take more than a few nights before he realized his mistake, and because I made a hell of a noise on the thing. But that was the first instrument. I must have been around about 14 when I got that.
I can see him screaming at 4 a.m. Shut the hell up!
Why did I get this kid the drum kit?
Yeah. That's great. So, okay, you experimented with the drums first. Where did everything else come in play?
So at the time, I remember my mum had a friend who, this is around the same time when I was getting the drums. Part of the deal was my mum had a friend who taught tap dancing lessons, right?
Okay.
The class was local to where our school was, and she had I had to agree to go along to these tap dancing lessons if my dad got the drum kit and I was to be continued to allow to play them at a certain time of the evening or daytime rather than all.
Okay.
So I agreed to that, and I begrudgingly went along. But what the tap dancing taught me rhythm in my limbs, and I never forget this. I did it for about a year. After a few months of doing it, and I used to have to go every Saturday morning. It was horrid, and embarrassing. But I'd go along, and after a few months, and I started to really get coordination between my arms and my legs. So when I sat down on the drums, it became easier and easier and easier. And I didn't. Years later, you look back and go, "Oh, that makes sense." And that coordination boosted my confidence in ways that you can't imagine. So the next instrument, I went from drums, and I realized, okay, I'm never going to be able to write a song on these bloody things. I need to learn some chords or something. I need to figure out an instrument that has chords so I can write some lyrics, write some songs. My dad had a Spanish guitar kicking about and a bass guitar. Still got the bass guitar. And I managed to convince him one night to loosely tune it for me. And then I think I taught myself 2 very simple chords. I think the first chord I taught myself was G, a G and a C, because they're pretty much next to each other. And I wrote my first, I wrote my first song, and that was on an acoustic guitar. But it was the rhythm thing that I got from doing a little bit of dance. Isn't that funny? Shoehorn in tap dancing, and that gave me the confidence to have the coordination in my limbs, and that led me onto the guitar. So pretty.
I don't mean to pick on you, but do you still wear the leotards behind the drums?
Only when it's cold. It's cold in England. You know what though? I do. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I was saying I've been going through a bit of a problem with my ankle and my foot. I used to be, as a kid, I'd ride BMX and skateboard and stuff, and I just damaged my ankles and my toes beyond repair. So I've been on crutches these last few weeks, just letting my ankle.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So we were chatting about what we would do when I got back off of that, and I said, you know what, I might actually go and buy myself a pair of tap shoes. Just because you got just to get a rhythm going with my feet. I said, you know what, I haven't done that in years, and I'd love to see. And as you get older, you kind of look back on these things and go, yeah, man, what was all that about? And I was one of the good things, right, about the lady who taught me tap dancing was that she knew that, as a teenage boy, it was the most uncool thing that I could possibly do.
Right.
So she went, look, I'm going to direct you to this guy. His name is Gregory Hines. You've got to check him out. Check him out.
Oh, yeah.
So I went and had a look at this guy, and Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra. She's like, go and check those guys out. They are all incredible tap dancers. I mean, they have rhythm in their feet. So she directed me down that way, and as soon as I understood that it didn't have to be cheesy and all leotards, I started to appreciate that rhythm a little bit more. And you know what I mean? And it's funny, we find these things in the weirdest of places, and our presumptions and our imaginations as to what they are we always our own limitations for the limitation of the universe, which is seldom the case.
Well, it goes back to Fred Astaire and Dick Van Dyke, and sliding those shoes and dancing the way they do. They can do just about anything.
You could do anything, exactly, and that comes back to all kinds of music. I mean, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I've forgotten about the Fred Astaires and the Ginger Rogers of those.
Oh, beautiful stuff! Right? Beautiful stuff. I miss it. Yeah, I miss the big bang music. I grew up with it too.
Yeah, man.
So. We got to get to the present now. Yeah. We got a lot of questions. All right. So now you're a full one-piece band. You cover, how many instruments do you cover?
7 at the moment, but I'm learning trumpet. So I want to introduce a bit of horn into it.
The trumpet. We're throwing that one right down there. Trumpet. Okay, great. Now, are we working on LPs, CDs, EPs, anything?
Yeah, I'm working on a new album. I haven't got the title for it yet, but you've got a Small Things is the first track that's kind of leading me into that. All right. And I'm just laying out the storyline for it. But I'm also writing. I wrote a book in lockdown when COVID was at its height about how to write songs if you've never written a song before and don't play an instrument. So I'm pushing.
Very nice.
Yeah, man, I'm pushing to get that published. And off the back of that, all the history and the stuff that's gone on in my life, I started to write this screenplay, which I have aspirations to turn into a movie called The Greatest Artist You've Never Heard. And that's about my life, but also about it's kind of like a fiction, sort of partly my experiences in music and growing up with music, but also it's based around this character who has a not a mental breakdown, but he starts to see dead musicians when he's playing and performing, and he's a one-man band, and the way he gets through and he works through his if you like problems is he has this like consortium of dead artists who sort of support him and criticize him. And
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I'm working on that as a sort of screenplay, as a story idea, and writing the next album around that kind of concept of mental health in music, and something that's where I'm going.
No Cover TV is all about mental health, and every August is mental health awareness.
So I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of traction on that front, and maybe I can get some support. So
you got my support all the way, brother, all the way. So when is the ETA? 2025 possibly on the CD?
I'm gonna say August 2024. I write when I set my mind to it. I write pretty quickly, so I'm hoping to get it out summer of this year, right?
That's cool.
Aspirations for 2025 are to come over to your wonderful country and do some touring and do some playing, and actually, get back to Chicago, which I've been longing to do, and see a little new.
Well, I'm in Michigan, so we're not far away, brother. You hit to Chicago, I'm coming to you.
Dude, I will come down and come or across or up. I'm not quite sure where it is in respect to Chicago, but I'll come and find you.
I'm 4 hours away.
Yeah, of course. It must be close to Chicago.
Yeah, I'll find you. Cool. So tell everybody out in podcast land the platforms that they can find your music, merchandise, dates you're playing. What do you got?
The simplest way to find everything about me is to go to my website. You will find the links to everything on there, and I will spell my name for you so it's easy as pie. My first name is Paolo, and that's Paolo, and my surname is Marena, Morena, and it's .com. So paolomorena.com, and on there you'll find that you can listen to my past albums, you can buy and download stuff, and I love you if you do that. You can get links to videos, there's merchandise on there, and I'm adding to it all the time. So, and there's chat stuff on there too, so say hi, send me an email, communicate, stay in touch, and from there you can hit my social media channels as well. So
great, Paolo, great. And I noticed you got some fans there. You got people loving what you're doing.
There's a few of them.
Yeah, there's a few of them. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm
pretty nice.
Very nice, man. I think because I'm relatively well traveled, certainly in the sense of Europe and coming to America, and I've been over to Asia and made it to Australia for a little while. I've managed to collect this nice body of fans and friends. Continue to
the Aussies are great.
Oh, the Aussies are out. They're a breed apart, right? They're just insane.
They sure are. I got to do an interview in a few weeks with the Aussies. A lot of good times. I cannot control them.
I once went to see. I was visiting an Aussie friend of mine who was living in Nice, southern France, and he very generously took me to a Leonard Cohen concert in this beautiful olive grove by the sea.
Wow!
And he had a few Aussie friends with him, and of course, the Aussies, they love to have a few beers and sing along, whereas the French, they're very reserved and they like to listen. So we were there in amongst this crowd of 2,000 people, and a few of my Aussie friends started to sing along, which was fantastic. And a few of the French guys made the mistake of turning around and trying to shush them, and that was it. The Aussies were just like, what?
That's the big mistake.
They got more rowdier and more drunk, and you couldn't help but see. I like to think that Leonard Cohen, he was smiling as we were like badly singing his songs, but dude, it was fun.
I think I'd just crawl under the table and disappear.
There was nowhere for me to go. I just had to sort of stand there and pretend I wasn't with them, but I was kind of with them.
All right. Talk to me. Are you playing out venues anywhere in your area?
Yeah, man. I have a small little run coming up. It's East Anglia, which is kind of just north of London and southeast England. And I'm going to be playing out at the list is up on my website. We start in Chelmsford, which is where my hometown is, and then we work our way into London, and then down to the coast and then back up again. So I play a lot of like pubs and bars and clubs.
Well, your music goes for that, definitely.
Yeah, venues.
Definitely.
So
now, do you like performing for smaller up close crowds, or do you like bigger crowds that are a little further away?
That's a good question. I think the biggest crowd I've ever played to is about 10,000 people, and it was
that's good size.
Yeah, good size, right? And I played supporting the Australian Doors, who are like a Doors tribute band.
Oh yeah,
and that was insane as well because they're mad experience, mad fans.
Oh yeah.
No, I think they're two different things. I love the intimacy of playing to a small room because you can hear a pin drop and you can pick people up and take them with you. But then you can't match the feeling of that many 10,000 people somewhere watching, and that if things are going well, the positivity and the vibe that's going backwards and forwards between artist and audience is another level. And that kind of shit heals wounds. So
I find it funny being on a big stage with all the lights. You really don't get to see much of the audience.
Very true.
Because it's all black out there.
Yeah, maybe the first row, who are always like photographers or people looking very uncomfortable.
And you hope there's people behind them. And so, but I like the big stage, but then they always escort me away from all the buttons and stuff, the guitar techs and things. So they didn't like me to push buttons. So just play the guitar and get off the stage.
Yeah, that's it, man. Don't touch that. Stay there. Stay where you are. See that bit of tape? Don't go out of that bit of tape there. That's where you stand. Yeah, I get that as well.
That's it right there. That's your job. Shut up.
Yeah, don't play. Leave the sound to us. The music is you.
Right, exactly. But please, no. But anyways, you're going up and down. But any tours going up, planning? You got anything planning getting out?
Yeah, man. I want to get back out to Europe. So this is why I'm hoping to get the album finished before the end of the summer. And then I do the Benelux, which is Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And like prime beer country. Every bar and pub out there has got its own little microbrewery.
Oh, you're going to be
So I do that. It's about 20 dates. So I'm going to do that again this year. And then I'm desperate to get back down to Spain and over to Germany as well. So I'm hitting up my agents and people and at the moment and trying to organize those. So I'm looking to do a good run across Europe with the one-man band show and the new material. And that's going to be sort of...
You're a very busy man. Very busy man. Now, I've got some fun questions for you. Let's do this. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you two answers for this question here. Who in the world, alive or past, would you like to grace the stage with?
Gosh, good question. And can I choose two, you say?
Yes, two.
Jim Morrison and John Lennon.
Oh, you got me in the heart.
That'd be a mad session, wouldn't it?
That would be a just incredible session. I would cry. Yeah. I don't know what else I would do. It's just beautiful.
That would be insane.
That's a great answer, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, here's another one. You get two answers on this one.
Okay.
Anywhere in the world, and there's a lot of places in the world, two stages you'd like to perform on.
Oh. Madison Square Garden.
Madison, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be, right? You guess that. What a place.
Oh, you got to go there.
And then where else? I think somewhere in LA, anywhere in LA would be amazing. I've never been, and I hear stories and people tell me the most incredible things about it. Somewhere where you're booked in on a regular basis on the Strip, you know what I mean?
Yes. You like to get out on the Strip, and I think we could get you in the Whiskey a Go-Go.
Whiskey would be immense, man. Oh, wow. Yeah. Whiskey. Yeah.
Well, I have some connections, so you get your
I'm
ass
hitting you up for those connections, brother.
And I'll hook you up with some great bands out there to open up for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh my. Now, I got another question. I don't know if I want to answer this one first or last or second. I'm going to go for this one. You've been doing this quite a while. You play 7 instruments. During your time performing, have you had any embarrassing moments? A mic slap you in the face, guitar fall on the ground, you fall on the drums, a mic go in the mouth.
I've had loads, but you tend to just pretend that they don't happen and hope that nobody notices. But I suppose the one that went on Britain's Got Talent, which is with Simon Cowell, right? And I was playing Hit the Road Jack and doing a looped version of Hit the Road Jack, where I looped all the instruments, and the final instrument was me doing this roll on, hitting a note and doing this roll on the drums, and then bringing all the instruments back in. And I hit the note fine, hit the road, and don't you come back, no. And I went to do the drum roll, and I noticed that my drums, and I was using electric drums, so I could record them, and my drums had unplugged. So I had, I'm live on TV. There I am doing this thing, and I look up, and the drums aren't working. So I start clicking the sticks above my head, and everybody starts clapping along. I run around, plug the drums back in, come back round, press a few buttons, get it working, do my drum roll, and bring it all back in again. And I managed to put it off. And I think, I don't know if everybody thought I did it on purpose or what the hell happened, but
whatever.
My God, I needed to change my underwear after that.
Yeah, right. You had to go change yourself after that one.
Underwear after that one. It was like...
Oh, that is beautiful. All right. Now, this question I love to hear the answer to this one here. Okay. You're getting all set up and you're ready to jam, and you start jamming, and people start gathering up towards you. They're swinging. They might even be singing your songs. How does it make your heart feel?
Oh, man, it makes my heart soar to have, you can physically feel the love coming back to you, the connection. It's I was saying to my girlfriend the other day, it's up there with surfing, or and she does yoga, and she was saying, people, when they do yoga, they do it after a while, they have this epiphany moment where they feel it, they do a bit of yoga, and then they come out the classroom and they actually feel so much better. And I said, I had those moments with, like, when I learned to surf or skateboarding, and music is like that. So when people are standing there and they're giving you the attention, and they're paying attention, and they're boogieing and perchance singing the words, it's like this symbiotic flow of energy between me and the audience, and it makes me feel incredible. Like I say, it can actually heal wounds. If it's just, it feels incredible.
It's the highest high you can go.
Yeah, right.
It makes you feel. It does. It always stays with you. It definitely does. Now, besides the single playing on the UK radio, are you doing any more radio and press?
Yeah, I have a few more radio shows coming up in February. I'm trying to get out as much as I can. Like Christmas has been quite quiet for me with my injury, so I just want to get back there and connect and hook up with a few old familiar friends. And I'm lucky enough as well, fortunate enough to have had some plays on the BBC with the BBC. So I still have, when you play with the BBC, you have like a little channel set up on the BBC site where you can upload songs, and they'll listen to them. If they want to, they'll play them, and they'll distribute them amongst their DJs. And anybody can do it. If you're wherever you are in the world, if you go to bbc.co.uk and you type unsigned or uploader, you can set yourself up with a little page, and you can upload 2 songs every 30 days. And the DJ's mad, huh? So if you're listening to this now, and you've got a band, and you think you've got a great track, and you want to get it out there, go to, and there's no better place to go, right? If it gets on a on a BBC radio show, that's kudos. That's up there with the MTV and the likes.
Yeah. Oh, I love BBC.
Yeah.
Now, I ask a question to all my artists here, and I'm curious if you're independent, but if someone was to approach you and say, I'm this person, that person, would you take a look at this and possibly sign it? Would you sign a label?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I think I'm only independent in the sense that, I just haven't had that opportunity yet, and I've got, I've got 3 wonderful kids, and I took the reins with my career. It wasn't because I didn't want to go down a particular route. or anything like that, or I had, or that I've had multiple offers or lots of people coming to us with things. I think the British music scene is quite a small place to try and break, and they tend to work on the idea of what's current. Where
right, they do.
You know what I mean?
You
So
need,
if you're not what's current and relevant at the time, then it's very difficult to get the attention. It's not so bad now. And there's never been a better time to be an independent artist. But yeah, definitely. I think if somebody knocked on my door and we got on and they had a great plan and a vision as to what they wanted to do with it, then definitely, why not? Yeah, I'm all up for that. I love collaborating, and as much as I love the music business, I'm happy to hand over the business of music.
I'm knocking on your door.
Yeah.
When you get off this podcast, go to my website, nocovertv.live.
I'll do that.
Scroll through that, and if it interests you, you get a hold of me, all right?
Brother, I said that.
Because I'm a representative for a big records label.
Mate, I'd love to. Thank you so much. That's very kind of
you. We can talk. I think you deserve it.
Oh, brother, thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. So what else we got to chat about here? You got any all the times you've been doing this, memorable moments that stand out for you?
Yeah. Oh, dude, how many do you want? So I'll tell you about the first time I flew into Chicago when I first hit the States. My first time, I was coming from Amsterdam, and the drummer and the bass player Martin and Jordan, they were from Chicago. They flew ahead of us, so we followed them a week later. And I flew into O'Hare Airport, I think it is. O'Hare, and I landed about 11 in the evening. I was with my guitarist at the time, an English dude called Greg. We traveled to the drummer's sister's house, and that's where we were staying, right? So we get there about 11 o'clock in the evening. My drummer is out playing a show with his father in a jazz band somewhere downtown. So my guitarist friend, the guitarist in the band, he crashed. He had jet lag, but I'm wired, and I'm like, I'm in Chicago, I'm in the States, I cannot go to bed. I'm the drummer phoned me, and he's like, dude, I'm on my way. I'm going to come and pick you up. We're going to go out. This is the city. The city doesn't sleep. Get your shoes on. So he spins round to Lisa's, his sister's place, and picks me up. Must have been about midnight. And we went down to the Wonder Bar. And this is like early 90s, right? So he drives down to the Wonder Bar. We go down there, and all the musicians, when they finish playing their gigs, they go to the Wonder Bar to kind of unwind, right, and have a jam. And that was the thing. So we're at the Wonder Bar. And we just hit the drink, right? We just got it. We haven't seen each other for like a week. He's the drummer, I'm the singer. Drummers and singers tend to connect on the bass that the rest of the band don't. They're musicians.
Get a little down.
So we're getting down, we're drinking, we're having a really good laugh. And I don't remember, and this is a little bit naughty, but I don't remember getting into his car. But I do remember we got pulled up by the police out. This is the first night I'm there, right? I haven't even made it back to his parents to say hi. We get pulled outside the Drake on Lakeshore Drive, right? And and at gunpoint. And this is a whole new experience for an Englishman. Yeah, our coppers don't have guns. That we have tasers. Worse, you might get a stern word, right? But not a gun in the face. So anyhow, Martin gets out the car, and I can see him trying to sort of walk the straight line and failing miserably. And they
failed miserably.
Right, and they take him away. They put him in the cop car, and one cop car drives off. So the other police officer comes up to my window, taps on the window. I roll down the window. He gives me the keys, and he's like, "You got to move this car. It's a traffic violation." And we've got Martin's whole drum kit in the back, and I didn't drive. I'm in America, and I have no driving license or anywhere. And I'm thinking, the moment I start this car up, he's going to arrest me. I must. I don't drive, right? So anyway, the police, we call them coppers. The police officer disappears. So there I am with Martin's drum kit, his car, and these keys, and I'm outside the Drake Hotel. So I wander into the Drake, and I chat to the guy on the door in my best Cockney accent, which I'm putting on as best as I can. I say to him, I explain the situation. I say, "Can I borrow your phone to call a taxi?" And he's like, "Okay, great." The only thing I've got with me is this little scrap of paper with his parents' address on it. And the guy calls me a taxi. And we're downtown Chicago, outside the Drake, but his parents lived in Skokie, Illinois, right? Which is a good 45-minute journey, unbeknownst to me. So I get in this cab, and I drive, and I say to the cab driver, "Can take me to this place?" And he goes, "Okay, man, no problem." And off we go. Now, I've got no money. My wallet isn't even with me. I've got
Oh,
this is
no.
before mobile phones. I've literally phoned his parents and said, "Oh, me and Martin have been separated." His father was a well-known jazz bass player called John Bainey.
Okay.
He had played with lots of famous people, and he was our benefactor. So he had organized this tour for us to go to the States. So anyhow, and I haven't met him yet. So I'm heading out to his house, and I'm in the cab, and Martin's been arrested. His kit and his car is outside the Drake, and I'm driving back there. So I get back to the time it takes me to get from downtown Chicago to Skokie, Illinois, is about 45 minutes, by which time Martin's father's agent has had word that Martin's been arrested. The press have gone down to the police station to try and get Martin being arrested. I turn up, walk through the door, and Martin's dad, John, and he's a short guy, got a voice like this, right? And he comes right up to me, and I've never met him, and he's like, "You motherfucker, you mother, you mother." He's in my face, and I'm thinking this guy's gonna kill me. He's gonna murder me. And he does this repertoire for about 15 minutes where he's cursing me and cursing my family, and cursing my face and my name. And I had to go, I sobered up like this way. And I had to say to him, you're absolutely right, Mr. Bainey. I'm so sorry. But I've got a cab outside. Can I borrow $100? And his jaw has just dropped. And he's kind of puzzled. He's pulled out his wallet, given me $100, and then disappeared off outside. So I've run out and I've paid the cab. I've come back in. And I'm standing there in this kitchen, and he's disappeared into the studio. And Martin's mum, this lovely lady called Nancy, she's come up to me. She's gone, "Don't worry about him. He's a bit of a grump. And Martin shouldn't have been arrested. He knows better than to do this to him. Would you like a joint?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's rolled me a joint there in the kitchen. She's gone, she's going to sit down and smoke that. And I was like, "Oh my God." And that was my first
kind of
right? That was my first night in America. And I remember the next morning. So I slept on the sofa. We went and got Martin from the police station the next morning. Because his dad had uploaded at me, he didn't offload at Martin, which was like the first time this had never happened. And that led to Martin quitting the drink, and that was a good thing. And I got back to where we were staying, and I met up with my guitarist. And I remember walking in at about 9 o'clock in the morning to his the drummer's sister's house, and the guitarist sat up in bed, and he looked at me. And you know when he looked at me and he just went, "What have you done?" And I must have looked on my. Didn't say anything.
What did you do, you dumbass?
Yeah, he's like, what have you done? And I told him the whole story, and he's just sitting there with his head in his hands and going, "Man, we haven't even met these guys yet, and you've already done that." And then for the rest of the time, we were there for like 12 months. The rest of the time we were in Chicago, we'd go around to these record industry things where they show you off and you showcase and stuff. We'd be standing there, and the head of the record would be like, "Hey man, this is Martin. Oh, hey Martin, how you doing? This is the guitarist Greg. Oh, hey Greg, how are you? This is the bass player George. And this is the singer Paolo. Hey, you're the guy." And it got me a bit of notoriety, but I was the guy who did this and did that.
You were the guy.
But it was fun, man, and that opened a lot of doors for me, and was
You'll never forget that one. Well, Paolo, we're at 42 minutes. I want to know what the next 5 years, the future looks like for you. What do you think you got in store for us?
I want to get to the States so badly with this live show. I feel like if I can get out there and do some touring, it's going to go down a treat. And I have so many things, places that I want to play, and people that I want to catch up with. So I'm hoping the next 5 years, man, I got 3 or 4 albums in me that I want to do. I've got this film that I want to put together and finish writing. I've got my book to release. So the future's looking bright. I've got a lot of work coming up, and
that's great.
I want to keep doing it. Keep doing
it. We gotta get you some
spreading the love.
Yes, we got to get you some sync licensing going on. Yes, indeed, my friend. And hit me up, and we'll talk about the other thing. All right?
I will. I'm so thankful. Thank you so much.
I'm going to put a little background music on, and I'm going to end the show. All right, brother?
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I'll stick with you.
Stick with me. Here we go. You hear that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. We're going to groove on out of here, people. Welcome to the No Cover TV podcast. I'm Big Al. I bring that original, local, and national music scene. I shove it right in your face. And if you don't like it, I'll smack you around a little bit. How does that sound? You need to hear it. All genres, all age groups. It's incredible. We've had an incredible show today with the Mighty Small with Paolo Mareno in the house. Right, Paolo?
Woohoo! All the way from the UK.
Yes. So we're out here, everybody. You have a groovy time. I'll talk to you soon. Say peace, Paolo.
Good night. Take care. Bless you all.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Take care,
Peace.
brother. Peace.
Peace.